to today's how-to guide for the BMW M5 with the S62 engine. Today we're going to be doing a bit of basic servicing and finishing off from the oil service by replacing the spark plugs, and that's a very simple job to do. Looks a bit complicated due to the engine being well crammed in, and in reality you can do it at home with very basic tools, and it shouldn't take you longer than around about an hour to do all 8. What do we need to do with the job? Well, set of spark plugs. NGK BKR6EQUP is the OEM spec. Halfords at the moment have these on offer for £8 a pack. That's £16 for 2 packs, which is an astonishing price considering they're normally £39.99 a pack without your trade card, or if you use your trade card, £21.99 a pack. So essentially you're getting 80 quid worth of plugs for 16 quid. That offer won't be there long, because I'm led to believe Halfords are not going to be stocking these plugs anymore. Tools wise, 1/4 inch drive ratchet, long extension, plug socket, wiggler, 10mm socket, sort of screwdrivers, and if you're feeling particularly lazy like I'm going to be, you can use a drill driver adapter for running all the little nuts off the top of the coil packs. Once you've cracked them off, it just saves a lot of time. First up, we need to remove the air intakes for the pollen filter air cabin system. Very easy to do. Lift off the lids, move them out of your way. Unclip the 3 top clips for the duct. Then this will allow you to remove the entire housing after you've unclipped the little spring clips as well. Lift it out of the way, twist the intake towards the middle of the car, then lever it out, being super careful not to break any of the tabs off behind. Do the same for the other side, then you'll have access to the coil pack cover system. Once you've removed the pollen filters, if you want to, you can leave the ducting in place. I'm going to leave it in place as the tabs off the back are very susceptible to breaking, and I've just put 2 newish ones on with unbroken tabs, and I don't fancy running risk of them breaking again. You will then need to remove the cam shaft half covers on each side, and this allows you to gain access to the coil packs. 10mm nuts on each side. Make sure that you don't drop them down onto the under tray, as they are nuts with little washers and not long bolts like some people think. Once you've removed the small covers from the top of the camshafts to access the coil packs, then you will need to unplug the coils. Pull up the little metal tab and then slide the plug off. Do that for each coil. Then also remove the 2 nuts holding the wiring plug in on each side, being careful not to drop the nuts down into the spark plug wells or the engine under tray. Once you've unplugged all the coils, you can remove the small 10mm nuts holding the earth straps in place for each coil. Then remove the wiring loom completely if you want to make it a bit easier yourself. You don't have to, but if you're finding access is a bit difficult, then you can do that. Then remove all the coil nuts, then the coils will just slide out. Might take a bit of a pull, but they should just slide out relatively easy. Once you've removed all the coils, then you can have a look down into the recess where the coil packs live in the spark plug wells, and look for any oil contamination that may or may not be present. If you find oil in here, it's a sign that your rocker cover gaskets have started leaking, and it would be very wise to change them. as once they do start leaking, then they're just going to carry on and on and on, and it'll end up either dripping down into your exhaust and burning away, creating a bit of an oily burning smell inside the cabin, or worst case scenario, it'll fill your spark plug wells up and start creating misfires, and it'll ruin your coil packs. So if you find any oil in these, get it changed. Parts are available from BMW. It is quite an in-depth job to change the rocker cover gaskets, involving taking all the intake manifold, playing them off, and all the breather system. But it is a satisfying job to do. I did these 3 years ago when I bought the car, as they were showing slight signs of weeping, and they've been absolutely perfect ever since. So once you've done all the checks that you need to do there, you can get your spark plug socket, pop it on to the plug and remove your spark plugs. Do the same for each side. If you want to be super careful and ensure that you don't drop anything down the bores, do each plug one at a time. Replace one plug at a time instead of taking all four out in one go, but that's just if you're being super cautious. Generally there's no need to. Once you've removed all the plugs from one bank, line them up in number order so you know which one they've come from, just in case you have any issues with heavy oiling or any other contamination which you might want to investigate. All these plugs are identical in the fact that the engine is running correctly. The cores look to be fine, showing no signs of any pre-ignition, overheating, overfueling or extreme heat running. And the new plugs ready to go, and you can see how the old ones compared to the new ones there. So that's from bank A on the driver's side, cylinders 1 to 4. Bank B will be identical, cylinders 5 to 8. So whilst we've got it all in bits and all the plugs out of the bores, we can also get a borescope down there and have a look. So this little borescope cost £7 off eBay. The quality isn't fantastic, but it does a job. So for £7 it's worth it, and I've used it for inspecting various bits around the car before, inspecting the conditions of the sills inside the car, and everything turned out fine. So we'll stick this down each bore and have a look and see what's going on. With the borescope inside the cylinder, we can see what's going on, and on top of the piston there looks to be a bit of carbon build-up. If you can just about make that out. The valve pockets and cutouts look fine. The cylinder bores look fine with zero scoring. The borescope isn't amazing. The little light on it, it's not fantastic, but it does its job. I'm not sure if the camera will pick up what I can see. But inside the cylinders everything looks good. Piston crown doesn't look damaged, and there looks to be zero excessive scoring from the cylinder walls, just the normal sort of wear that you'd expect. So with all the bores checked, I can put the brand new spark plugs back in and put the system back together. Before you put the new plugs in, just have a quick examination of them, make sure they aren't defective or damaged in any way, and also make sure that the top cap is securely tightened up onto the spark plug body. Easy way to do this is use a pair of pliers on top of the cap then hold the body with a spanner and tighten it securely. If any of them are loose, make sure they're tight before you go back in. When you fit your new plugs, note that the crush washer on them, because these aren't a tapered fit for a standard fitment. So what you'll need to do is tighten the plug up by hand, then another 2/3 of a turn to crush the sealing washer. Then that is it. Do not over tighten them, otherwise you'll end up stripping the threads in the head, and that'll be a massive expensive bill. As to helicoil the heads properly, you have to remove the head. And likewise, if you don't tighten them enough, the sealing washer won't crush, won't seal, then you'll get blow by of a spark plug, which is effectively lack of compression. Then you'll be down on power, and that will also throw a engine management code as well, as the cylinder won't be performing correctly. So make sure that it's tightened up properly and that crush washer is crushed effectively. Before you put the coil packs back in, just give them a general inspection, looking over the overall condition of them. The rubber boot, making sure that it's not perished, damaged, split, oil contaminated, and that the spring inside is in place correctly, as without that you won't get any electrical contact between the coil nose and the spark plug tip. And also you can check the date on them when they were manufactured as well. The date will be stamped on just below the lower part number where it says made in Germany. The camera doesn't quite focus on this bit, but these ones are the original coil packs for the engine, and they were manufactured on the 27th of the 1st 2001, and they are still in perfect condition. If you wish to check your coils, you're looking for electrical resistance across the pins, and you should see no more than 6 ohms of electrical resistance across the 2 outer pins, if my memory serves me right. It's a while since I've done any coil pack checks, but you might want to refer to other online sources just to be doubly sure on that. If your coils look all good, get them put back in, and refitting them is, as per the Haynes comic, reversal of removal, usually with more swearing. And make sure that the nuts securing them tighten up adequately, not too tight as you don't want to pull the threads out of the head, but you don't want them loose neither, so they rattle around and vibrate. Going on to the passenger side, it's a bit more difficult to do, as you've got the fuel system lines in the way and the ECU wiring harness, rubber wiring plugs and whatnot. Not too difficult, just means you need a longer reach extension to get down into the plug bores. And for our friends on the continent and in America, the passenger side for them will be the same as well, as everything is reversed on the continent. Other than that, exactly the same as doing bank here. Really easy to do. Once you've got it all back together, then the only thing left to do is start it up and make sure everything runs fine, tick over as normal, and the usual, check for any leaks from your oil and cooling system. Just as a note, when you put in the passenger side coil pack cover back on, you might find it easier to take off the oil switch sensor plug off the oil filter housing, and that allows you to easily get the cover back in place without too much trouble. And the passenger side, as I said earlier, is the most fiddly to do, so that'll take you the longest. But other than that, it's a relatively straightforward job, and I hope it's been of some help, and thank you for watching. Anything else that you're interested in me doing, then drop something in comments and I'll try my best to do it. And thank you again.